Hello, my name's Georgie Newbury and I'm a flower farmer and florist based between fashionable Bruton and up-and-coming Wincanton in sunny Somerset in southwest England. But today we are in Cumbria in the northwest of England, and my dear mum, who some of you may remember from a fun clip we did in July, has agreed to give us a little tour of her garden. It is the 10th or the 11th or something like that of October. So things have changed since we were last here, and I hope you enjoy the little tour. If you do enjoy these tips and these clips, please do subscribe to the channel. There's a button somewhere, and please do press the bell icon and we will tell you when we've got more clips coming out. And you can always buy me a coffee if you fancy. Although today's session is really for fun, so enjoy. Buy a coffee if you like, but really it's for fun.
This is a marine that must be grown in a greenhouse, and it's a bit of a nuisance, but you water it all summer and then suddenly it does this and you're entirely grateful to it, and it's absolutely heaven. But you can't ever grow it outside. It's too tender in Cumbria, where it's inclined to get pretty hideous in the winter.
So after it's finished, will you just put it in the greenhouse?
Yes, back again, under the bench, with the clivia.
Really?
And they'll both lie there forever, and then suddenly they
Will you cut it back or anything, or just leave it?
No.
Let it die?
No, let it die. Its leaves are just beginning to go a little bit yellow. And it's got my classic little greenhouse greenery plant at the bottom.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And it's still got 1, 2, 3, 4 buds to come. So it'll last another 3 weeks at least and take us through nearly to Christmas.
I have to say, for colour,
It's
at this
pretty
time of year,
spectacular.
it's pretty darn good. Okay, Googie, I'm filming you going down the steps. There's our Purdy.
Oh,
Hello, Purdy.
I should have held on.
In this garden, the garden dog is Purdy. Hello, Purds.
Wagging her tail.
Always wagging her tail.
Fruit, which makes you live forever. I hope not. But you bring your bowl of porridge down and pick your blueberries into it, and then suddenly it goes this gorgeous, gorgeous colour. And of course, I'm dressed to match.
You always dress to match. Apparently, you have to keep blueberries very wet. Do you keep it very wet?
Well, I don't have to keep them wet.
Because you're
the
in
good Lord
Cumbria.
does it. Yes.
And there are more nerines, the other side of the greenhouse. I love the way you keep them.
They're only to be seen from in the greenhouse, and they're just past their best. But that's the only place I could fit them in.
It's the only place, and there's no other way to see them. You have to see them through the greenhouse.
Yes.
I love it. Go ahead.
With some very, very sharp Japanese clippers. They're quite frightening. Keep your left hand well away from them.
So you clip them, and you have no wacky shears, do you?
Yes, but they're just like a very large pair of scissors.
They're amazing.
And I've taken 5 little cuttings, and they're round the bottom of the
Oh, very good.
wall round here.
And the Actia were good, weren't they?
They were good, and they smell heavenly.
They don't like it at home.
And it used to be called black cohosh because it was supposed to be given in pill form to ladies who had night sweats.
Oh.
And they've now changed its name to Actia, which is boring.
And do they not give it to ladies with night sweats anymore?
I expect they don't. Far too natural.
So are you putting how's the vegetable garden doing, Googie?
Well, I picked the 14-foot. I had to actually cut the tops off them and pick them as they were coming down. They were 14-foot beans. I left one stick to show
That's
how tall
amazing.
they were.
Look at your black kale.
Yes, my Russian kale is doing very
The
well.
health of it.
And so are the weeds, but there we are.
Yes, but you've taken up, when we were here last time, you've taken the peas and the beans out.
Yes, the beans are all in the freezer. And
You've got one little squash down there.
I know, one left. We've been eating. I don't think it'll be big enough for Halloween, do you? It looks a bit
No, bit small. But look at
But that is looking heavenly.
look at the rainbow chard.
Yes.
Just grow it for the colour, really.
Well, for its legs.
And still having sweet peas in mid-October is not bad.
And we're just finishing the last of the sweet corn tonight.
And will you eat
which is good.
the fartichokes? Look at the fartichokes.
Well, I've eaten them steadily. I had a school friend stay the other day, and we had the huge, huge ones. And I'm leaving these just hoping they'll get a little bit bigger. But we've been promised a night frost the day after tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
I think
they'll come in then.
it felt quite chilly this morning when I came out.
It was. This bin was full of stinky Comfrey mix.
Oh, yes. Oh.
There it is for plant food. It's now been all cleaned out and it's empty. And
There
we
you are.
put only that much into a large 2-gallon can, and every tree and shrub in the garden has been watered with it just before it started that 10-day rain.
That's amazing.
So the rain took it in.
So you did it quite late in the season?
Yes.
So
yes.
sort of September time?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, even beginning of October, because we have so much rain up here that the goodness is leached through,
Yes.
and that replaces it for the whole of the winter. And in the spring they'll.
And when do you
Top
cut the
up.
comfrey to put in the bin to make the mix?
You cut it 2 months ago. A third of comfrey, a third of your own compost,
Yes.
not anybody else's, and a third of water, and you stir it vigorously every day for a month before you water it, and the smell is absolutely humongous and simply delicious, and you know what it's going to do to all those poor little
Yes.
thirsty plants,
Very
especially
good.
after a hot summer.
Yes.
Ones which are just finishing off ripening here, and they're just going to be cut into large chunks and put in the freezer, so you can reach in and get a handful of them and add them to a stew. But if you just bake them in chunks, you just put them a little drizzle of oh look, oh no, it's a wasp.
It's all right.
Yes, be careful. Little drizzle of olive oil and then some black vinegar and bake them in the agar. No problem.
And then they just and then you freeze them after you've drizzled, or
No.
cook them like that?
No, you put them in raw into your freezer, just baked on a tray, raw into a plastic bag,
Oh,
and
very
you just
good.
reach in for a handful. But if you cook them, you just bake them with your olive oil. It is
Yum.
which is actually little tiny, but will get enormous geraniums.
Is that
mixed,
Herb Robert?
Yeah, all mixed in. No, it isn't. It's much bigger.
Oh.
And here is another plant that has seeded itself, and I'll tell you its name in a moment. And it's coming with all the.
And your succulents, so will you bring all your succulents into the greenhouse now?
No, I should have planted them up, but the moment never came.
So will they just sit there all winter, or will you put them
they'll
inside?
get planted up into the third pot.
Yes.
Which has nothing in it. Nothing has happened.
Oh, I
there.
see.
But just geranium.
And so they'll be very nice in there.
Well, I hope so.
And you'll put them on the back step to keep them out of the cold for the winter?
Yes, just tuck them in under a wall.
Tuck.
A little bit,
I think we should all be tucked in under a wall for the
Yes.
winter.
I'm ready to tuck in under a wall.
How's your compost?
My compost is quite ashy at this time of the year because we've had fires all day, every day, to keep my husband warm, and so we've had an awful lot of ash. But it'll all go in.
It'll all go in.
It'll all go in.
And
very
so
nicely.
this is the one that you'll put on in the spring, is
Yes,
it?
but that's not looking very grand.
Well, no, but looks are not
I'll
everything
come
where
back,
compost
which I
is
have
concerned.
to collect.
If I wrote, look at this. So this, look at that. So this was made.
You won't be able to see it. Yes,
No,
you
you'd
can.
be surprised.
You can.
This was made last winter,
No, the winter before last. It's a 3-year.
and
Yeah,
this
a
is
lot.
the fresh. So we'll leave
is the
this
fresh,
till year
yes.
after next.
Yes.
And then you've used up that one.
And this is just the remains of the year before,
Gosh, that's amazing, isn't it?
which is what I put in the Comfrey mix.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And you just, if you want to just top dress something, you've always got a little bit left.
Yes,
which is
very good
wonderful.
idea. Look at the
Anyway,
colour, Mum. The colour, the autumnal colour.
well, this is,
The spindle
the
is
spindle is heavenly.
it's the best year ever for the spindle. And the Bayou Blue
Look at
Gate is so good.
Look at it, very good.
Yeah, that is quite something,
Very
isn't
good,
it? That
yeah.
is worth growing.
But my hydrangeas have not flowered at all because they were so frosted with the frost-laden winds in the spring that they just didn't stand a chance. They've
So it
not
was
flowered.
just, well, they will next year. You'll have an
But
incredible.
They've had the Comfrey mix,
Yeah,
so they could surprise you.
they'll have an incredible year next year.
And we've had a little show of the autumn crocuses. Which
Oh,
always take you by surprise, but once again, they've just passed their
They're
best.
just gone.
And the Coringa-shoma's been lovely.
Is that the one that self-seeded into your pot?
No, I put it there on purpose.
Say it again.
Coringa-shoma.
How do you spell that? Sorry, that was
Look
mean.
in the plant book. It came rather quickly, floating over my lips. But anything that we cut down ruthlessly, because they were flowering up in the ceiling,
Yes.
is now sprouting again rather well.
Yeah, they've
So
really
we're
done.
pleased about it. And that has been lovely on my potting
Oh,
bed.
it's like a little fairy nook. It's a little fairy nook with the fairy winter colour, autumn colour on
No,
it.
but the best is yet to come.
Oh, is it?
Our best tree, because our neighbours from over the field kept on asking what it was.
Oh, because they can smell it.
'Cause, well, very nearly.
Is that
It
the one
smells
that-
of burnt sugar, and it drives you insane. And you have to go back to where you smelt it, and it gets another whiff, and it's absolutely heavenly.
And here it comes. Here it comes.
Wind is blowing in our direction. Then we have to stop and keep on smelling it.
Look at the colour. It is
The
amazing.
colour of the Parotia persica is doing very well. It's just coming through.
Sorry, say that again.
The Parotia persica is coming through a Japanese larch, which will go completely yellow. The combination is lovely. If you've only got room for one tree in your garden, I would have the Parotia.
Okay, is that what I would call a Persian ironwood?
You probably would,
Thank
and
you.
you'd probably be right.
Or I don't know.
But here is number one, Smelly. But I think we have to go for number two, Smelly.
What, this one? We
Yes,
have to
does
squish it.
smell. Just-
No.
No,
No smell today.
no smell today. And here is another glorious colour, but no good.
Is that a
against the light.
euonymus?
Yes.
Oh, it's very good, isn't it?
It's the colours of the seed. Seeds, look at it.
Yes, it's another spindle.
Yeah.
Look, it
Look at
matches your shirt so perfectly.
Oh, how odd. And your toenails. Wild.
And look, and here are your wild orchids, which have just come, and they've really...
They're moving up towards the light.
And you've kept
See,
their
they're
seed
the
heads.
seed heads. Because they're seeding, yes, really well.
Yes.
And
Fabrizio cuts the seed heads and hangs them upside down
Yes.
on a hook above where he wants them to set
actually
seed.
put them in a bucket, and then I was left with an eighth of an inch in a bucket. And I asked at a question time how I put them onto the top of the shed roof.
Yeah.
And he said, dig a little hole, sprinkle them in, and fill it just with very, very fine gravel.
Ooh.
And see what happens. 23 of them.
That's very good.
That's what happened. So it was very, if I hadn't asked, I might not have known.
Good old gardener's question time. Well done, the BBC.
Yes, and the hedgehog house.
Oh,
They're harassed every night by Purdy.
oh dear.
And
But
I
Purdy can't get
count
in
them.
there.
I came out to count them, sat on there with a cushion, and then I started hallucinating about a hot bath. I'm afraid I gave in to the hot bath.
Oh yes, I'm not surprised.
Now this is the other.
Ooh.
Just on his last leg.
Look at the
We'll go and see
colour.
if it smells.
Look at the colour through. What is the maple? That's a very pretty maple.
Well, it's just a dark field maple. It's quite common as much.
Yeah, but you know what common is as common does, isn't it?
Yes, because underneath is a. Here we are. I'll take you through to it. It's a bit of a jungle here.
And this is the tree of life.
Here is
Oh look!
the woodland pansy. With its heart-shaped leaves.
Oh,
And look at the back of them.
oh yes.
Isn't that just
Yes, yes, if they
beautiful?
glow.
Yes,
They have light in them.
just gorgeous.
So what's this one called? We don't know. You do know?
It's a woodland pansy.
A woodland pansy.
Yes.
Doesn't look like a
No,
pansy.
No, it doesn't look like a pansy at all. But I'm just mad about it. I mean, look at that colour.
So you bought that as a small shrub?
Yes, look at that colour on the back,
That is astonishingly
on
good
the
colour.
front. And here is the smaller one that smells of burnt sugar.
And so what is
Yes,
what? So
it does.
oh,
Yes. Yes.
and what is
Yes.
this?
It's a Cercidiphyllum.
I beg your pardon, say it again.
Cercidifilum.
Cercidifilum.
Yes. Oh, and you get whiffs of it. And it drives you wild. And you have to come back and smell it again.
It's a cercidifilum, which is spelled C-I-R...
C-I-R-C.
C-I-R-C, odifilum.
Ifilum. Adifilum.
And then there's fartichokes behind.
I'm afraid 1/2 an acre of fartichokes.
Yes.
Which will go into soup quite soon.
Yes,
and
so
you walk around the village jet propelled. Absolutely wonderful.
And then here, good old raspberries still going.
Yes.
That is amazing.
The lake.
And the pond, where you protect the frog from the heron.
Otherwise you get sludge at the bottom.
Ah.
And I'm not allowed to ever go into it with my waders on, because my waders come to here and the water is to here. And it's quite slippery on the bottom.
So do you make sure that Carol's here when you go in?
So Carol comes and I shriek as I go under.
And
She hauls me out.
very good.
But we have all the Angel's fishing rods here.
Oh yes.
And so if you want any
I would have
seed,
thought it would be
just
too...
apply and I'll send you seed.
I would have thought that would be too wet here for them, but they obviously
No,
like
lots
it.
of wet. But they're greedy.
They need feeding.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
And we planted a new one that's here.
There's the label.
Very small.
Oh yes. So do
It's
you
a dark
feed
red
them
one.
then?
Yes. I feed them with the
manky
disgusting
stuff.
mix. Yes. And you can see the height of the fartichokes.
Here come the fartichokes.
Protecting the cercidifilum.
Yes, very
It
good.
doesn't like the spring winds.
And there's a rabbit. Your dog has just put up a rabbit.
In the garden.
Which is, there it is. Look. There is a rabbit in the grass. Oh. Look, and the borders are still doing their thing.
Yeah, just a little bit for the autumn, but it's really a June, July bed.
It's nice to have a bit of colour.
Lovely. The little climbing plant here. But they're only annuals, but they have been absolutely heavenly.
It's an annual clematis.
No, it isn't. But its clematis has now come, which is Princess Diana, and it's going to come and just go up there.
So this is a little annual bell.
Yes.
Oh, do we know what it's called?
No, I can't remember.
It's very good though. If you can look it up.
It is a gorgeous colour, and it just filled the gap until Princess Diana arrived last week.
And then, what's this amazing? Let's go look at the shed because the colour is just staggering.
And my shed is always gorgeous. I'm nice about my shed. And this needs cutting again. And this has been absolutely razed to the ground.
Was this all sea holly? This was all covered in eryngium, wasn't it?
No, it's got all sorts of things, and it was an inspiration from a garden, and I just copied it without the yew trees, which I thought would rather drown it.
Yes.
And it's got thick. They're about 4 inches thick slabs, so they keep the heat, and they were dragged down on railway sleepers because they're so heavy and laid here.
Wow.
And the sun shines on them all day long, and you can plant really quite rare and wonderful heat-loving things here, and they do really well.
I suppose it's also protected from the hedge, isn't it? And
Yes.
and then
The wind and the sun. The sun just thrives. We have a slight problem with moss, because in the spring we'll scrape it off.
well, no, but I'm keen on
This
moss.
is lovely.
Oh, that's a salvia.
Yeah.
Look, it matches your shirt. Everything matches your shirt.
Yes, well, I'm dressed to kill today.
And look, the colour on the shed. Isn't that magic?
Yes, but the funny thing is that here, I haven't seen to it for a few days, is its window.
So you just have to make sure you can see out.
Yes, so inside it's a little bit. There we are.
Oh,
There's
very
its
good.
window.
Oh, very good.
And the bees and the butterflies on here
The
are
sedums.
still there when the sun comes
Yeah.
out,
It's
which is
fantastic.
gorgeous. And these windows, because the wind comes here, it's just taking it. And
It is.
There's its electrical panel up there.
Oh, it's got a
And
sun.
that's a little bit paler, because they're
Yes.
not quite quite so windy.
It is really very good, isn't it?
I wasn't.
Your lovely Bowser mum.
Oh, yes, I can.
That is a brilliant idea.
You ready?
Yes?
This is my most favourite piece of equipment. It cost £100 50 years ago from the Country Gentlemen's Association. And they probably don't exist anymore, but you can pick them up in old sales, and it is worth its weight in gold, because that is fresh water come out of my greenhouse, ready to feed all the tomatoes with, and you can actually push it round the garden.
Oh my goodness, I should think it weighs a
Yes.
bit.
Or else you can fill it from a tap at the bottom here.
Ah,
But it's rather heaven. It looks so nice. Much, much better than a plastic bin.
it's so much nicer.
There's no plastic bin in the world that looks as good as that.
No, you would design your whole garden around that.
Yes. And I know that the local farmer's got one in his porch. And I'm just beginning to think, how much would you like for just the top of that? Oh, it's caught round with a piece of red string.
Oh, that's very good.
Yes. This grew out of absolutely nothing.
It's the smallest crack in the ground you've
Yes.
ever seen.
And it was seeded by the 8-foot ones over there.
Oh, it is
So a
lovely.
little bit of wind must have blown them.
It is absolutely.
And this has been the bad weed of the year.
Oh, the willow herb. But still, Mum, it's quite a garden. Really.
It's fun. And there's always no time to sit down. Or if you do mistakenly sit down, you'll immediately see something that needs doing.
Never time to sit down, never.
A little wild strawberry.
I think the thing about your garden, Mum, is all the unexpected detail. For example, everybody needs a bee in their garden shed. I just think it's gorgeous. I love the thing I like. Well, no, there are many things I like, but I really like the inspiration I take from the mimosa in the greenhouse, which from time to time
It's cut down.
you cut down. Look at this.
And blow me down, it comes again.
And then there are the Nereans again. And blow me down, it comes right back. So I've done exactly the same
Yep.
at Common Farm in my polytunnel one, and it's very happy. Thank you for showing us round.
And look, there's flowers for in January.
Yeah,
Oh, so exciting.
here they come.
I mean, cut it down, turn your back for a minute, and it's back.
It's brilliant. Well, there you have it, the autumn garden of the inimitable Gilly Newberry. We call her Googie. That's her family name. Anyway, she's quite the gardener. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do like these clips, then please do subscribe. There's a subscription button somewhere around. And you could also press the bell icon and we'll tell you when there are more clips coming up. And if you like the tips and tricks that come along, you can always buy me a coffee. The link is in the information somewhere. Thanks very much for coming, and I'll see you again soon.